because this week is the bloody week.
It is.
Yes. So because this is the week of the suffering and all this that we don't need to go through. So anyways, so this is an old story I wrote once. So, okay, it's 9 o'clock. Anyways, so that's why I'm sitting, because I'm going to read you a bedtime story like I do to my daughters. So sorry about the grammatical mistakes that might be in it, because it's a long time I wrote it, and but well, I think you will understand. It's hot. The air is vibrating. Stray dogs and cats are lying in the shadows. Marketplace, the salesmen are shouting to their customers. It's a young woman with her sister, and they're buying some dates and halwa and food for lunch. People are getting anxious around them. There's passionate whispering heard around. Some people are moving towards the palace. The two ladies who are shopping are looking around. Rebecca, what does this mean? Why are people so restless? I don't know. But it has to be something really interesting. Let's go to the palace to see. There has to be something happening down there. Rebecca, wait for me. Oh no, why is that silly girl so hasty? I do hope I can catch her before she vanishes into the mass of people. The young woman hurries after her sister. There's a strong current of people moving towards the palace, towards the governor's palace. She can hear people talking, chattering around her. They captured him yesterday. He was praying at the hill. He is blamed of rebellion and blasphemy. That's so horrible. How dreadful. It was his own disciple. And he was paid also 30 pieces of silver. That man deserves to be judged. High priests think that he is surely guilty. How can such a nice person be guilty? The woman entered the palace courtyard with the people. As she was searching for her sister, one of the elders of the synagogue pulls her sleeve. He's guilty. Remember that Jesus is not to be freed. He is guilty. He scorned God. He's the worst of everyone. The woman looked after the departing back of the elder and followed his way from person to person. When she glanced around, she noticed that many other elders and even priests were among the people. In her amazement, she realized that they are doing the same thing as the elder and demanding death of Jesus. Sarah, her sister is back beside her. They want to crucify Jesus. They want to crucify him. What are you talking about, Rebecca? Why do they want to kill him? What for? What he's done? He claimed that he's Son of God. He's blasphemed in their mind. But he's Messiah. He is Messiah. Why can't they understand? Why can't the priests and the teachers and the elders understand? There's a great commotion coming. There's coming through the crowd. The governor comes to the balcony of his palace. He's accompanied by soldiers who are leading 2 men. The other one is very big, dirty, and covered with sunburned skin, with black hair and gloomy look. And he's staring strangely at the people in the courtyard. The other man is skinny and muscular. His hair and beard is very well taken care for. He seems to have been beaten lately. On his cheek, you can see a reddish scar, and the surroundings of it, it's purple. He stands and watches the people down below. Which one do you want me to really release to you? Barabbas or Jesus who is called Christ. Death to Jesus, death, death. The crowd around the woman goes wild. High priests and elders are screaming at the top of their tongues. Pilate is amazed and frustrated. Down at the courtyard, the woman is horrified. Which of the two do you want me to release to you? Barabbas, Barabbas, Barabbas. The crowd screams. Tears rise in the eyes of the woman. She's terrified while she looked on the balcony. Barabbas is laughing. He's laughing furiously. Jesus does stand still, and he's watching with dark eyes at the people below him. People are clapping violently when the soldiers open the chains of Barabbas. Pilate sits on the chair behind him and turns his eyes towards Jesus. The crowd cheers when Barabbas leaves as a free man. After the noise settles, Pilate rises from his chair, very frustrated. What shall I do then with Jesus who is called Christ? Crucify him, crucify, crucify. Why? What crime has he committed? The crowd is shouting in frenzy, shouting. Pilate cannot be heard. The people demand the death to its worst enemy. Pilate washes his hands. The crowd becomes quiet with astonishment. I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility, he says, frustrated. The woman below departures, crying, pressing tightly her basket with all the dates in it. Why? Why? He is the Messiah. He's one of the most gentle men I've ever met. He's so understanding, so patient. And I know he loves all of us. He is our friend. He is their friend, and they want to kill him. Why doesn't he talk for himself? Why doesn't he defend himself? Sarah, don't cry, Sarah, don't. The two sisters walk down the town streets, leaning towards each other. One is crying and one is quietly comforting her. Sarah stops and says, I want to go and see. No, 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 don't make yourself feel worse. Let's go home. No, Rebecca, I'm going. I have to see. The two women start to walk to Golgotha. Her sister hurries after her, trying to change her mind. When they reach the place, they find a rock below a small tree. It is an isolated spot, but they can see very well from there. Why did you want to come here? I felt I ought to. I felt I ought to see it. The sisters sit in solitude. Slowly, more and more people are gathering around the place. The noise increases. Further away, you can hear people mocking. Nearer, there are people crying. Then you can see soldiers coming and making room for a man who is carrying a cross. After him comes quiet Jesus. Blood is running down his face. A crown of thorns has been heavily pressed on his forehead. He has a bruise in the corner of his eye. You can see that his clothes in the back are bloody from whipping. His shoulders are shrunk down like they are carrying a big burden, bigger than the cross that the man in front of him is carrying. His eyes are dark from pain. On the contrary to the previous, Jesus' face is full of expression. He is hurting. His pain is more severe than one could suppose. The crowd is mocking him. They're mocking him. They're laughing at him. The soldiers are laughing when they nail his hands and feet. You can see he's hurting. From the corner of his eye drops one single tear. The cross is lifted up, and there's a sign on it which says, the King of the Jews. The eyes of Jesus look at the people around him. His look is full of agony. His gaze focuses on the woman who sits with her sister on the rock, and Sarah looks into his eyes. She knows that moment that Jesus is suffering because of her bad deeds and her bad thoughts. She can see through his eyes. She can see the pain and the shame and the guilt those bad things have caused. Jesus is experiencing Sarah's sins like they were done by him himself. Jesus is feeling the same pain with every person around him, with every individual. He's suffering because of all their sins, and he's going to die because of them. It's darker than night suddenly. Desperate people are following the death of Jesus. The mockers, the laughing people have gone, they got tired and they left. Around him there's just people who are sad and who are in pain because of their sorrow. Jesus calls out to God. Why has he abandoned him? Why is he all alone? He's offered a drink. He's so tired, exhausted, he cannot draw his breath. And slowly his head rises up. He looks in front of him. His strong voice fills the silence and the darkness. It is finished. He's dead, and we are forgiven. Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friend.